Last night, I was in a very sort of hazy mindset. I looked into my bedside drawer and saw a bunch of old, I guess, sketch pads that I had. I can't really call them journals because I didn't write anything worthy of note in them. And they were just sketch pads that I had from when I was 10 years old. I found some cool designs in there. I looked at the first page, I have it in front of me, and the first page has YouTube preparation on it, which had what I was going to call my original YouTube channel, which was Sky Burger. Very, very original. The username was going to be Sky Burger, and then my best friend's gaming channel was going to be called Awesome Gaming, and my channel was going to be called The Flying Burger. Very, very interesting. And then there was just a bunch of other things, I wrote Christmas 2016, New Year 2016, a to-do list that I had, which was wait for my friend, spend lots of time in bed, play The Sims free play, go to my friends when he gets back, and remember to rest my eyes. And I just thought, why don't I write something? Why don't I write something for old time's sake? And what I wrote was very profound. Now, I remember when I first learned about things like manifestation, that sort of thing, I just completely dismissed it. I remember my sister giving me the book, The Secret by, Riona something or other. And I read the book, and of course I was coming at it from a very closed-minded perspective. I was like, how can you just think of something and it just becomes that's so stupid? But I do think there is an element of truth to it. I think, what I originally thought, and I still think too, is that if you're able to believe in manifestation and manifesting to the universe, that's pretty much God. You may as well just believe God exists. Praying to God and manifesting to the universe are basically just two different terms for the exact same thing. But regardless, I was like, why don't I journal, but in a manifesting, praying sort of a way? I write as if these things that I want in my life have already happened. So this is what I wrote. I have to succeed with YouTube. I don't know why, but I see a future. I see a penthouse balcony overlooking the ocean in Dubai. Again, very original. It's 2 p.m. with a blazing sun. My girl emerges from the room and smiles at me. I hold her close, still amazed that she's mine. My success has got me here today, and I'm grateful to my past self for the dedication he's put in. I have another vision. A log cabin in Canada. I'm sat by the fireplace with some green tea. There's some red and white hockey sticks above it with a photo of a hockey player. There's a dark oak coffee table in front of me. I'm sat on a red velvet sofa. My girl is to my right. I am holding her close. I have never felt more content than I do in this very moment. The fire's warm kiss doesn't compare to my girl kissing me on the cheek and resting her head against me. I am breathing very slowly and never want this moment to end. I have truly made it. I have retired my parents. I have built crazy wealth. I have an aesthetic physique. I have a great feeling of fulfillment and love. I have made it. Thank you. Very, very deep stuff. And I have done this in the past where I've wrote things where it was from a YouTuber I used to watch, a British YouTuber I used to watch back in the day. And he's very much into the whole manifestation, spirituality kind of thing. Yet he doesn't believe in God, which each their own, I suppose. And he talks about journaling, but journaling in the present tense. But he would say, instead of saying, I wish I have $100,000 in my bank account, he says, I open my phone, and he goes into exact detail. Notice how when I was writing, I talked about the kind of oak the coffee table was, the kind of sofa I was sat on, what I was drinking, the warmth of the fire. It's this kind of detail that if you have that kind of vision, you begin to align yourself. You're sort of like making memories that haven't happened yet. But if we think about it, a memory that we have and a sort of imaginary vision that we have in our mind, there's not really much difference to them other than the memory is something we've actually lived. But it's like very easy to switch between them. So I think if you start writing down your goals, your desires, your dreams in the present tense as if they've already happened, then you need to start aligning yourself. You start to become the person that matches the description. Because if I say things like if I say I want to retire my parents, that is, it's possibility, it's sort of non-definitive, it's very wishy-washy. Whereas I say I have retired my parents, I have built crazy wealth, I have an aesthetic physique, I have a great feeling of fulfillment and love. You're sort of sending this message out to the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, that these things are things that you already obtain and you already have that mindset for these things. I can perfectly understand if you disagree with me. Like I said, when I first started reading about this stuff, I realized how wishy-washy it was, but at least give it a shot. Like, even if it's just journaling, like just writing down your thoughts. This is just what I happened to do at like 9:30 last night. And I think I'll continue to do it because it was very, very rewarding, very, very insightful. And I've always sort of struggled to get into journaling. I've always sort of struggled to, write about my feelings and things like that because I just sort of get a bit bored and disillusioned with it. But this kind of journaling, this sort of sending a message out to the world, to the universe, to the Lord himself, about the kind of life that I want to live and what I believe I shall live, that is very powerful. Even if, people may say, oh, it's never going to work, but what harm is it doing for me to believe in myself and to have this vision and dream? And there were times, and you have to be very unfiltered when you're writing this, there was times when I was writing it, like when I said, a penthouse balcony overlooking the ocean in Dubai. There was a part of me that, although that was my first thought, I sort of paused and said, do I really want to write that? That's kind of cheesy, that's kind of cliche, going to Dubai, all that things. But I stopped myself from changing what my first thought was, because if I'm just writing and then editing things and just not truly speaking unfiltered from my mind, I'm writing a story. I'm writing a fictional story rather than writing the truth that I believe, the vision that I have in my mind. And of course the vision is whatever I make it, but it has to be straight off the top of my head. I can't just edit things. I can't just, rub out a certain word and completely change the meaning of the whole context of the page. That just wouldn't make sense. It's very powerful stuff that I'm writing, and it gives me so much more motivation to actually achieve it. Because if you're a guy like me, a masculine individual, you are a man of your word. You hate breaking promises to people, and you especially hate to break promises to yourself. That is worse than, I'd say, a friend betraying you. Betraying yourself is one of the most deadly things a man can do to himself. Because if you betray your own thought pattern, then the one person that you could trust, the one person you could guarantee you could trust, yourself, you no longer have that trust. You no longer trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, then you have no vessel. You have no means to get to that goal that you want to achieve. And that is heartbreaking. That, honestly, I cannot imagine just losing that passion for life, losing that trust in myself, betraying my own mind like that. And I'm sure there's times that I've done it in the past, but I've never let it get to me. But there's times when you said, oh, I'm not going to do this bad habit again. I'm not going to eat processed food again. I'm going to wake up early tomorrow, and you just don't. That is where the problems arise. That is where disaster strikes. So that's why I recommend you to make commitments to yourself by writing down. Grab yourself a pen or pencil, Get a notepad, a piece of paper, whatever it is, and write down your goals. Present tense journal. Don't say I want $1 million. Don't say I want to help people. Don't say that I have built this amazing, I want to build this amazing empire. Say you have built. I am. He is. She is. Use the present tense of the verb to be, because that is 10 times more powerful and it sets it in stone. You can't back down now when you've made this commitment to yourself, because what will happen if you break that commitment? It will be 10 times more painful, 10 times more tiresome, gruesome, the fact that you betrayed yourself. So I hope you've learned something from this. I hope you take my suggestion into account and write down your goals. Write down what you're wanting to be, the charisma you're wanting to build, the wealth you want to build, the health that you want to achieve, the mental health that you want to develop. But write it in the present tense as if it has already happened, because that will benefit you more than you believe. Hope you've enjoyed this video, bro. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. God bless, and as always, you take very good care of yourself.